Inwards, outwards. Inwards, outwards.
She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark upon our heart. She made our mark. She made our mark. She made our mark upon our heart. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark upon our heart. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark upon our heart. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark upon our heart. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark with her art. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark with her art. She made her mark. She made her mark. She made her mark with her heart.
Thank you, Rosie.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm Jeannie Dassis. This is
Roz Reese.
And we are thrilled to be hosting the first Back to the Deb Koffman Art Space IWOW. And in its new incarnation, if you haven't yet heard, the Center for Peace Through Culture. Yes. You're going to be hearing about it in a few minutes. Much thanks. Just a few kind of detail things. Is there anybody brand new to IWOW?
Yay. Welcome. Welcome.
What the format is pretty simple. Everybody gets 5 minutes. Oops, you want me to wear that? Everybody gets 5 minutes and then they get the hook. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. You have that bell, right? We have a nice bell. You want to play it? Yeah, that's the hook.
Denise will be our head bell girl.
And we have a very full list. I am really sorry. Several people have come expecting, hoping to be on the list tonight. If we have any more no-shows, we have a little bit of a waiting list, which we have not had a waiting list for IWOW in a few years. Right? You can.
So.
You don't have to hold it up.
Okay. So with that notion that there are a few people who have written specifically for this evening, we ask that each person really be mindful of their 5-minute time slot.
Great. So the other thing that is part of the tradition that Deb created here is somehow that her art inspires people. Thanks to Andreas for creating Deb's art right here. Make space for all you feel and all you need.
And let's say who Andreas is.
We're going to introduce him in a little bit.
Okay.
Not quite yet. We'll get there. And so you notice the donation basket up front? Whatever you can do, $5 is what we ask usually. And that is a donation for the Center for Peace Through Culture. The new home that lives in this building, right? The new home here. It's new home. What am I forgetting? The bathroom upstairs. The stairs creak. We'll all know when you're going there. I think we got it.
Yeah.
We got it. So you want
me to
do your thing?
Okay. It's sort of giving me a little security. It's keeping me down. Yeah.
President, one more thing can I say before, because I know you're thinking there for a moment. You're feeling your way into it. We really are asking people to wear masks unless you have a medical reason not to. As I know someone came up to me and mentioned, please respect the wearing masks indoors. When you're up here performing, obviously you can take it off. Okay? Thank you. Still strange times.
Alrighty. If you feel comfortable allowing your eyes to close. And coming in contact with the mark or marks that Deb has made upon your own heart in this space within Housatonic, Massachusetts. And then from this place in your heart, travel up to Monument Mountain and look down upon what is now going to be called the Center for Peace Through Culture. Imagining new marks being made that are rooted in that place of our hearts that Deb seeded. And from the place of Monument Mountain, perhaps imagine that you're now somewhere over the state of Massachusetts. And from one person's inspiration, touching each of our hearts, something electrifying spreads. And from the state of Massachusetts, go larger, go bigger. Imagining that these marks in our heart can now cover this country. And go larger and bigger, and imagine that these marks in our heart that were seeded by one Deb Koffman can now actually encircle this globe. And from there, if you wish, you can go larger and bigger and wider. And from one seed in one heart, in the heart of Deb, we are flowering. We are spreading seeds. We are germinating. So tonight, may we begin the re-potting, re-tending, re-nourishing an old space that is now new, an old space that was seeded by Deb and now has us and Andreas and every single person that walks in this door or opens a book or reads a card gets to spread this message that came from Deb's heart. And like a helium balloon that has gone out into outer space, just take the end of that string and pull it back down to Earth, to this Front Street location, the Center of Peace Through Culture, and come back to that mark that is and was made in your very own heart, our collective heart. And maybe there's a new seed that you wish to plant from that place in your heart. And if so, I say plant it, because this is fertile ground. This is new space. And possibilities can grow. We forgot to what?
Sit on the balls.
Oh, we forgot to sit on the balls.
So, yesterday, Roz and I had a meeting. I'll put that up. Yesterday, Roz and I had a meeting about tonight in the middle of Lake Mansfield, literally the middle. We swam out and we chatted about what we wanted to do tonight and what it would be like to feel Deb being here and to feel Deb as part of the audience. So there's Deb's chair, where she often sat and laughed her head off, cried her eyes out, oohed and ahed and everything else. So we leave that space for Deb tonight.
And took such pleasure in each of us expressing ourselves. She was, right, a catalyst, a coach, instigator for champion, thank you, for self-expression.
Yeah, not just me. For everybody. She's like that for everybody. So we thought Deb would think it was really funny if Rob and I sat on balls and bounced for a little. Okay. So are we ready to introduce?
Yes, let's introduce Andreas. Yes?
Ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You seem to be introducing him.
Well, without further ado, please welcome Andreas. He'll have to give us his official however he wants to be called, but he is the person responsible for creating what we see in this space right now done. I said to him this morning that Deb would fall in love with how he is presenting her work. So it's with great respect and heart that the new space holder of this space for the Center for Peace and Through. Thank you, Andreas.
Does this actually work?
You just have to pin that on you and then drop it. You want to drop it, but place it on the ground. You don't have to hold it. Drop what? The silver thing? Yeah, the silver thing you lay on the ground. There you go.
Like that? All good?
Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andreas. What an amazing gift. First off, this is really a monumental moment in many respects. I know for most of you here, you all had very close relationships with Deb, and I sadly never knew her in person, but I can tell from being immersed in her work very deeply for the last many months. She would have been a kindred spirit for me, and she is a kindred spirit. It's also a monumental moment because I'm actually getting emotional. We're at a place right now where so much is happening in the world, where people have gone through the pandemic and have had to make all kinds of shifts in ways that are unimaginable, like nobody was prepared. And we're still adapting. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to figure out how to reconnect with each other. And one of the really great things that Deb really got her finger on was this idea of how art can transform people. It can transform the world. Art is the way, it's a form of communication that we can all relate to. Everyone comes with a different perspective, a different dimension, and if we just pay attention to those things, we can learn something from each other in ways that are not, that you can't plan for. Things just emerge. So, first off, thank you, Sarah, for this amazing gift from the family. And also Deb has given, like, I mean, many of you know, like, just incredibly prolific. I mean, I'm discovering notes on things all over the place, and so much of it is hitting on points that every one of us needs to hear right now. I mean, it's really a moment. I know this little space off to the side she referred to as the Little Gallery, and I've decided to call the whole place the Little Gallery because there's the idea that big things and big ideas that can come out of small spaces, individuals, is really the moment that we're in right now. We can all play our part to change the dynamics of things. We're at a place right now where people are listening, they're paying attention, people are exploring, they're trying to find new ways to solve problems that, weren't here a few years ago. And so people are receptive. They're in a place right now where they're ready for new ideas. They're ready for new ways of thinking and new creativity. And so here is a space where, I mean, this moment that's happening tonight with this open mic is an opportunity for every individual has something to say. Everyone has a story. We make assumptions about each other. You can look at somebody and think that you know them, but you don't. They have something to say, and art is a way, creativity, art in any form, writing, music, dance, whatever, free expression is the way for us to start connecting with each other. And hopefully, my hope is that here in this space, the work that you've already been doing in this iWow group is also going to be growing out exponentially in other programming that's happening in this space. And we actually start paying attention to each other, looking at things from a different point of view, putting the prejudices away, actually understanding that people have their own stories and it might not align with your own personal story, but finding that common ground. Art is the way that it can be done. So anyway, I've probably used up my 5 minutes of time, but I think the key takeaway that I want is really to think about the power of each and one of us as individual, that the creativity that each one of us has that can really make an impact on the people around you and ultimately out into the world. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
I asked my mother
This has to do with something I lost, and I call it my lost hat. It was only a hat, a simple black fedora I purchased in a men's haberdashery. It was not an Easter bonnet, or a French beret, or a straw Panama, or a cloche, or a toque, or a fez, or a bowler. A man would never mistake his wife for it. It was just a plain fedora, like my father had worn. But when I placed it on my head, I became beautiful, or so I thought, in a Marlene Dietrich or Judy Garland kind of way. And on a day when I was feeling particularly perky, I looked young and hip, like Carrie Bradshaw. My mother called it my magic hat. She noticed a change in me whenever I wore it. My boyfriend Michael said that when I put it on and we entered a room, all eyes were on me. He was gorgeous and 6'4", and I was sure all those eyes were on him. But who was I to argue? Especially since I worried that if I removed my chapeau, I'd return to plain old Diane, Cinderella, when the ball was over. I got nervous, though, when Roger, my therapist, whom I suspected was having some problems with countertransference, said, "You look so sexy in that hat." It should have been a warning. But that's another story. I learned how to tilt my fedora so that I looked mysterious and rakish, and it went so well with my black cigarette holder. I needed no other accoutrement. Okay, maybe I had been watching too many Humphrey Bogart films or falling in love too much with Leonard Cohen. And so when I moved to Paris, my magic fedora went with me. Voila! Everyone smiled. They smiled at me, and one young man even offered to buy my hat right off my head. Then one day, en route to Les Halles to meet friends, I placed my chapeau on the seat beside me. Why, I cannot remember. But the next thing I recalled was that I was out in the street, hatless, and my chapeau was on line 4, speeding down the right bank. I wept openly, but hoped that some plain Jean would find the hat, with the magic intact. It is now 25 years since my beloved fedora disappeared on the Paris metro. I have since tried to replace it many times, but it's never quite soft enough. The brim is always a tad too small or big, and it never bends in the perfect devil-may-care way. I look pretty, but never beautiful or mysterious like I did in my magic fedora. But then I think, I'm 25 years older, and maybe a good part of the magic went not with my fedora, but with, shall we say, my flaming youth. Thank you.
I took my imaginary hat to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you go. Our next performer is the inimitable, everybody say that word, inimitable. What a great word, inimitable, Frank Joya. Come on up, Frank. Oh yeah, I'm still connected. Frank here.
Who's next? Kitty on deck. Got it. Okay, great. Got it.
So I am the inimitable Frank Joya. 14 or 15 years ago, while taking an acting class with a number of people in this group, Rudy Bach introduced me to Deb. And Deb introduced me to this stage. And my life has been forever changed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to read a piece from my book as I continue to read it backwards. This is called Jerry's Funeral. My kid brother's name is Jerry. And he comes up in the story, but it's really not about him. He didn't look much different, wearing a blue pinstripe suit, a conservative tie, straight gray hair combed back on the sides. He had that same smile, the devilish smirk he got when he lowered his eyes and stared at an attractive woman. He could be telling a story about going to the track, maybe how he hit the daily double at Belmont. Could be walking into a family celebration, dressed to the nines, or just sitting on a couch watching baseball. He was always a presence. People noticed him. He had just turned 80. My kid brother called to tell me. Dad died, he said. A heart attack. His voice flat as always. Are you coming down for the funeral? Me and Pat are going to go. Joe said he and Kathy are going to come in too. You and Susie can stay at our house if you want. So we went. 3 brothers and their wives, trying to understand that long ago time, the anger that seduced my personality, my feelings of abandonment, and the sadness of missed opportunity. The funeral parlor was on Long Island, in an old colonial, on the highway to Montauk. There were other people in the viewing room, people I didn't know. A few older women with their adult daughters sitting toward the front. He was such a nice man, one of them said. He made coffee at the senior center every morning. The woman next to her replied, and he loved children. Always playing with my grandson? Do you know? Did Jerry have children? Yeah, he had them, lady, I answered. There's 3 of us, and he couldn't have given a fuck less about us. What else do you want to know? That he was a self-centered son of a bitch? And I sat back down, trembling. He left us when I was going on 12, drove that new blue Mercury down the block and out of our lives. I joined the Halsey Bops that fall, and at 15 started hanging out in the pool room. I was skin popping before my sweet 16. 5 years of watching my guys OD before joining the army at 20. By then it was time to break out of the weekend warrior culture. My mom tried Valium, but she never recovered from the sorrow and the pain, the shame. It was impossible to go back to the way it was before my dad started sleeping with my Aunt Betty, his kid brother's wife. We hadn't seen him in years. Our kids were already in high school. He arrived unannounced, driving a trailer and towing a girlfriend to visit us in Great Barrington. It reminded me of one of those sometimes visits he made to see us when we were kids. I'll be there by 11, he would say on the old rotary. Don't bet on it. Even though I wanted to see him, I hated it when he showed up. He would have my Aunt Betty and her kids with him. I wanted to beat the shit out of my cousins. Like it was their fault that my father was a whore and their mother was a tramp. He wanted to see Damien, he said. Wanted to spend some time with his grandson. Came for a day and sheepishly asked if he could stay for the weekend. When he left, he said he'd see us again soon. Yeah, right. It was the last time I saw him before that day, lying in that box. I was daydreaming, all curled up in the mohair, as my brother Jerry maneuvered the caddy onto the southern state. Thinking about the time my father had invited me to his new house to have dinner with him. The new family, Aunt Betty and her 4 kids. He stood over a pot of fish soup and held court. Told stories about taking me to the local gin mill when I was still wearing short pants. Me sitting up on the bar, drinking a Coke. He had that same magnetic quality. Then I heard my brother from the driver's seat say, "You know about Aunt Betty's kids, right? The young ones, Jackie and Gary, the J and the G, the same initials as Dad's, Jerry, Joya. She named them after him. You know what I'm saying?" Didn't answer. I thought they were my cousins. But fuck. Maybe they're my brothers.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Well, for about 12 years, I'd ridden around with a large commercial pollination outfit, beekeepers, Merrimack Valley apiaries, doing apple spread out, placing pallets of bees in apple orchards. May 1st is the day that apple pollination often begins in the Hudson Valley. Every year when I am here, I check to see if any more orchards have lost their person who cared for them. You can tell if the trees haven't been pruned for a year. That usually means the farm is going in the wrong direction. Once farmland is lost to development, it's gone forever. Bees and beekeeping are all wrapped up with orchards and farming in general. I hate to think of it as a shrinking market. We always start with a meal at a diner, usually right at 5:30. Then we drive a big straight truck and trailer with a bobcat to meet the road tractor. Tonight we're at Fix Brothers. They have a spot for us to stage the whole load of bees, and they use our bees in their orchards. We look for smoker fuel on the way. I like pine needles best, but hay is usually what we find. The tractor trailer loads of bees usually arrive around dusk on clear days. My job is to pull off our screens, front and back, smoke the bees to keep them in their boxes, and either just get the screens out of the way or fold them immediately to go on the next load. The smoker is important. It is a 5-inch in diameter sheet steel tube with a solid bottom about 12 inches tall with bellows on one side that pumps air into the chamber and under the material you are burning, and smoke goes out of the funnel cap. The funnel cap is hinged so that I can get into the body of the thing and load it and light it. Tonight I'm burning hay because that's what I found. Usually I get the smoker going before I pull the screens. Get a good wad of smoldering hay, build up some heat, and add more hay packed up just right. I want to get 45 minutes of smoke because all hell may break out at any time. The person running the skid steer or bobcat signs off on the bill of lading. Truckers usually lose all interest in their paperwork when the screens come off the bees. They don't want to open their window. So we begin to unload the bees from the trailer with the forklift. As we do this, I roll up the trucker's straps, put his buckles and straps back in his toolbox. The screens are ours and stay with the bees. This load has 72 pallets or 432 colonies of bees. The pallets, 6 colonies on each pallet, are stacked up on the truck. I run to smoke them to keep the bees in their boxes and not roaring at us. You want to be able to unload them in dusk. You don't want to turn the lights on the bobcat's mast on. I have a brother who has 4 kids. I have 1. 1 is all I got, and she's great. Once I asked Tom what it was like having 4. He said, zone defense. You do not cover the individual, just the zone. That's what it's like with lots of colonies. It's very much us against them. 432 colonies stacked up on a tractor trailer is a lot of bees. If the smoker didn't function, the bees would have the upper hand. It can usually be tough finding fuel wherever you are. I've burned a lot of hay, taken from tumble-down barns or taken from the side of the road. I really prefer pine straw. It's much nicer smell and a burn characteristic. Anyway, it's my job to keep a supply of dry fuel in an old feed sack, which is kept in the toolbox under the bed of our straight truck. It will stay dry there. When the smoker is going well, it has a bed of heat on the bottom, packed in just right. You can keep it going all night. You can even burn dampness. When you're unloading bees and then doing spread out in the same night, you make 2 lines of 2 high pallets of colonies on each side of the tractor trailer. When the trailer's empty, the driver goes on to his next load or onto a shower or somewhere to park and sleep. The beekeeper is left with his straight truck, bobcat, smoker, and with any luck, 1 pair of gloves. There's an alley wider than the road tractor that just left, and the bees are bearded up on their boxes, hanging around their doorstep, watching for danger. You smoke bees, you load bees in the dark on the back of the straight truck. 24 pallets too high, strap them down, more smoke. Put the bobcat on the trailer, raise the ramps, put the smoker in its spot. Sometimes in a pocket on the headboard, sometimes on the trailer. It will burn a hole in a wooden trailer. It is very hot. Then to the first drop. Maybe the same orchard, but often we start with the drop that's farthest away. Then spread out goes faster at the end when we're more tired. There are 72 pallets on a tractor trailer. 72 divided by 24 for the straight truck is 3 straight truck loads for placement. This is called B numbers. You always are doing B numbers in bigness. Sometimes 1 pallet goes in one spot, sometimes 5 or 6. Depends on the grower. Some growers just don't believe that bees fly, so you have to put a pallet everywhere. You're often driving with your veil on. You often are driving with the ramps on the trailer down, and the soil can be extremely slick. You must strap down every load. You should chain the bobcat, but you don't often. Losing pallets off the load in the dark makes it a really, really long night. All night, stop, go, mess with straps, trailer, uneven ground, adding fuel, running, stumbling in the dark. Smoker never goes out in the course of an evening. I get the gloves, not for the bees, but for the smoker, which is very, very high. The hinges are always broken on our smokers because creosote from the hay glues them shut. Meanwhile, the bobcat driver will be yelling for smoke as his hands are on the control and cannot leave the controls. I have the only gloves. So you see, there's lots going on. A good place to put the smoker down to pry it open for more fuel is on the steel bed of the straight truck or the bed of the trailer if the truck still has too many bees. It's easy to put the smoker down in the wrong place, like when you have to open the toolbox to get out more fuel. Then if the bobcat is on even ground, I get yelled for to hold pallets to keep colonies from dumping. And that's the end. You'll have to talk to me.
Wow. I want some honey now. One of the things that's also part of the tradition of IWOW is announcements. And rather than wait to the end to throw them all at the end, like we sometimes used to do, we're going to intersperse announcements throughout the evening. So I'm going to offer up a couple announcements right now, which is the next couple of Wednesdays, not this week, but a week from this Wednesday on the 10th. The Hoping Machine, which is a group where Steve's out there somewhere, Steve Mole, who's coming up soon, and I are a part of. We're going to be performing at the Bandstand on part of the Great Barrington Concert Series on Wednesday night. The shows start at 5:30. Bring a chair, whatever, and hopefully it won't rain. And then the following Wednesday, the 17th, Berkshire Sings, which is the chorus that I'm a part of, that Rob Kelly leads, will also be performing at the Bandstand. So Wednesday nights for the next, Oh, and this week I'll just announce that WBCR DJs and musicians are going to be performing this Wednesday night. So Wednesday nights in Great Barrington, Friday nights, weekends, busking. There's a lot going on. Okay, how about let's give it up for the luminous Susan Solivet.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I just love that. Can you hear me? I get kind of quiet when I tell a story, but I'm going to tell you a story about, I'd say late April this year. I got a phone call from a woman who said, I really am desperate. I really need some help. I haven't been able to eat solid food since January. I was like, what's going on? She said, I had heart surgery in late December, and ever since I recovered, I said, did it go well? She said, yes, heart's fine. My heart's doing great. But ever since then, I can't eat solid food. I said, what happens? He said, oh, it makes me gag. My throat closes up. I throw it up. She said, I've been eating liquid and ice cream. So, most people who call me, now she's calling me to ask, can hypnosis help me like my previous foods again, solid foods? And I said, come on in. I'm a hypnotherapist, for those who don't know. And for me to hear about something like that suggested that something happened in the surgery. Now, when you go into surgery and you're taking you're unconscious for all the world, your ears are always open. And so in my training and in the past, I have found that sometimes something is said or something happens in the operating room and the subconscious mind takes it the wrong way. So that was a suspicion, but you never ever guess. You always let the person have a journey. So this woman came in and I do a regression, which means take you back in time in hypnosis, you can kind of go back and remember a lot of things that your conscious mind has forgotten. So I took her back to the OR. I did not put her back on the table, mind you. That would have been dangerous. I knew enough to say, you're in the OR, you're watching. And after a few minutes of very deep hypnosis and she's seeing things, she says, oh, it's the student resident putting the air tube or the tube down my throat, and he did it wrong. So there was some kind of kerfuffle in the OR, and once we found the cause, then it's my job to change the meaning or change the effect of that. And I said, well, now you know. But look, you got through the operation. You breathed beautifully. Your heart is fixed. During hypnosis, I reminded of all the things that went right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with your throat, because she had already been to a gastroenterologist, a neurologist, and her surgeon to find out what was wrong with her throat, and there was nothing physically wrong. So in the session, I said, and your throat knows exactly how to chew and eat and swallow some of your favorite foods, which she had told me. Delicious fried chicken. How about some pizza? You can feel and taste the cheese and just enjoy the flavor and the smells of all the solid foods you're going to be eating. And she had the smile on her face. I brought her back, and she said, wow, that was really amazing, and I hope it worked, and said goodbye. I had told her it would take 2 or 3 sessions, and she came back 2 weeks later. She said, I'm here, but I don't need to be. She said, I've been eating solid food since our session. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Why didn't you call me? You could have canceled. She said, I loved our session. Let's work on something else. So when I hear the phrase making your mark, I come from like a past career where I actually wrote things that ran on television nationally from one end of the country to the other, jingles and songs and pictures of things that I invented. You'd think that was making my mark, but no. Working small, personal, helping one person eat pizza again, which basically as a hypnotist, I'm usually telling people not to eat pizza. Trust me, most people I go, that cheese is just congealing in your stomach. So usually that's my job, but this was different. Instead of making a mark that goes everywhere, I make a little mark that means more than anything to someone. And doing small things with great love is what I do now.
Hi, Jenny. I'm so happy to be here. Oh, yeah. So, this is called Calling for You, Making Marks on Paper. And it's dedicated to dead Koffman and to Eve Schatz, who gave me the opportunity to feel and do many of these things. On Sunday, I finished reading Ann Patchett's essay about Kate DiCamillo, who writes for children and young adult readers. But then I realized, oh shit, I don't have anything ready for IWOW. Ugh. Well, I decided to read the essay again. Why not? It's so much fun to see the world through Ann Patchett's eyes. It turns out that Kate DiCamillo is a writer who brings the trials and the suffering of childhood into focus and illuminates them, helping children and adults survive their childhoods with a kind of joy. And I can say this because Ann Patchett has said it. And what she says is always true. You know it. And toward the end of this particular essay, Patchett describes her favorite of Di Camilo's 25 novels. It has in it a dog, a very talented little white dog. And after many decades of the complex lives of her owners, the memory of this dog comes back to save them and to lighten their spirits. And in the essay, Patchett finishes reading the book and then describes how she then calls for her own little white dog from her childhood. And then she calls for her father and her dear friend Lucy and her stepfather and her grandmother. She calls for them all to come back. And she is held in their arms with so much love. And as she says, all of it free from doubt or exhaustion or misunderstanding. So I try it. I imagine my late and beloved little white dog, Snowball, trying to feel her running to me, feeling her in my arms, kissing the top of her silky soft head, feeling her nearly blind, deaf little body astride my belly, on the sheds, on my front porch. We did this a lot last summer. A summer of anguish when I was trying to decide how could I possibly euthanize her and end her life. I would tip my head forward and kiss her head, thinking of the impossibility of doing this. Our heads and bodies touching each other, our dependence on each other at a bruisingly high volume and subtle pitch. Earlier that year, I felt that drawing her was the best possible use of my time. She slept with abandon, dipping into the comfort of her dreams, while her limping and her deafness and her cataracts were casually tossed aside, where she luxuriated in the everlasting springtime of her 18 years of precious days. As I drew her, can you see these?
Yeah.
Okay. As I drew her, she would open one eye and check in on me, and then sigh, close the eye, stretch a little, and relax back into her dreams. I sketched, impervious to the difficulties of our future, concentrating with love on this little life before me. So I now call for this beautiful pup in her spirit of devotion and dependence and fun. And I feel her in my arms, and I am free from the doubt and misunderstanding of last summer. And I thank her deeply, my favorite model, for giving me these drawings.
called Roll On. Well, you remember me when that first morning light shines through your window pane, just to brighten up your day, to brighten up your day again. Will you remember me when you hear that old familiar melody? Oh, the way we danced, the way we shared our sweet romance. Will you remember me? Like I remember you. It's not that long ago, that moonlit night in June, when I looked into your eyes and saw the child deep inside. It's not that long ago, that sunny summer day, when I held your hands in mine and saw the beauty in your smile. Will you remember me? Like I remember you. Roll on, roll on. Roll on, roll on. Roll on, roll on. Another ride around the avenue, see what we might find. See someone we might know. The days go on and on, rolling mile after mile. Oh, I wonder if you know how you always make me smile. Will you remember me? I'll never forget. Roll on, roll on. Roll on, roll on. Roll on, roll on. You remember me when you hear that old familiar melody. Oh, the way we danced, the way we shared our sweet romance. Will you remember me? I'll never forget. Roll on, roll on. Roll on, roll on. All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, well, thank you
I'll
very much.
remember your song.
Right,
It's an original?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve. So, before Ted comes, I'm wondering if there's anybody who has an announcement that they wish to share with the community. Yes, Ronnie.
Yes. I'm singing with Peter Own Chorale this summer at Hebron, and the concert is at 7 o'clock on Wednesday the 10th. I'm sorry, Ruth. At Hebron.
At Hevra, Wednesday the 10th, Ronnie is singing with the chorale.
With Bishalom Chorale.
With Bishalom Chorale. Thank you, Ronnie. Anyone else? Yes, Amber.
Hi. So I'm sorry. I'm taking a group of people to Venice in October 1st to the 8th. And it's going to be an amazing trip. So if any of you have Venice on your bucket list and really want to go, Carpe Diem, talk to me.
That's right. With Amber. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. Ted Phelps, come and gift us with your presents. And Eleanor Windman, you are on deck.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no.
I have to get this set for Joe.
Okay. You get that.
How's that, Joe, for reflection? And my lavia.
Ooh, I'm not so good with these.
It's lovely being this close to you.
Yes, it is.
There you go.
Thank you, dear. Thanks, Rob. All right. Well, one thing I've never did here was to, I did once use my iPad and we did ENSOs, and a bunch of you were here and I gave them back to you. So some of you, those that know me personally, know that much of the marks that I've made since I was 5 or something have been on paper, visual. And since 2016, I bought this gorgeous thing, which is an iPad, and you can draw directly on it, paint directly on it with the famous pencil. What we're looking at here, I didn't draw. This is the famous painting, probably Leonardo's and probably not. Depends who you're talking to. Nice long Wikipedia articles on it. It's called The Savior of the World, Salvador Mundi. And it's a style that there's many of them. I'm going to show you a few of them. But this one caught the eye at Christie's of somebody who spent $450.3 million, the most money ever spent for a painting. If I tap this, you can actually see the date of this photograph. It's the same day that it was sold. I saw the story of it, and I harvested this picture because this picture makes me throw up as a picture. I hate the picture. And I've never read anybody who else says that. They say, did he do it? Didn't he do it? It looks like students, long nose. It's as close as I could get. I hate it. That's the way it was 100 years ago. It's been all painted over, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, and it was found in a garage sale. That was it after they took off all that black stuff. You can get these pictures on Wikipedia. Pretty wrecked. There's also... yeah. So now that's me using the iPad with layers and stuff like that. And I named this painting I call I bid 450.3. He wasn't the one in the room, but that's the famous man of today. I won't say more about him. So here's a close-up of the face that to me, just as a person looking at it, if this was a real person, I wouldn't say anything about it because I despise I despise the word ugly. I never use it with a human being. It's unfair. It's wrong. But when you're doing a portrait and imagining the Savior of the world, come on. So what's wrong with that? I immediately knew what's wrong with that. His head is not high enough. You learn this in grade school. Anyway, so there's Leonardo's idea of what a face is supposed to look like. That's his drawing. I'm going to use it here a little bit. That's beautiful. You look at that, of course. We all just melt at that. They were painted around the same year. Decades. All right, so a little bit of analysis. I took off the background just to show you something. Ugh, right? Ugh. Okay, there's the picture I just showed you from Leonardo, and I have drawn over it to help us see in reddish color, the lines that he has on there. He's got straight lines. He's doing all these geometries, saying this is what an ideal face would look. I tilted it a little bit so that I could map it over this, and you can see how far off. Leonardo really goofed on this one. Already it looks better, though, doesn't it? It looks better. I'm now going to show you from Wikipedia. You can see there's about 20 others, same epic. This is a theme. I probably don't have time to talk about it, but the hand, the holding, what's pictured as the universe. This is what they thought of as the universe. It's a glorious concept. They're not copying him. That's my second favorite. I would have that in my house. That I find dear. These are considered the child Jesus, so they have a femininity to them.
Ted, people in the back can't see the picture. Or can you raise
Sorry, I can't. I'll do it at the end, Sarah. So this is actually a video. How much time do I have left?
10 seconds.
Okay. So this doesn't play this will slowly show the morphing of this picture. If I played it, it takes about a minute. Into my own picture. I put that drawing on top of it. This is my picture. And I'll just zoom in so you can see, like you can look at these eyes. Of course, it's building off of his Jesus, but it becomes my own. And then, Ted's Jesus. And then I'll just quickly show. Yeah. This one here is called World for Sale. That's a piece of art. The rest of it. I think I accessed it. There we go.
Thank you, Ted. Never know what Ted's going to do on this stage. Yeah. Thank you, Ted. All right. We are moving along here. If anybody needs a seventh inning stretch, feel free to move your body a little bit. We've got Eleanor coming up next. Sure. Can I help you put this on? Whoops.
Can I just turn this pony?
It's the wrong way. Yeah.
Can I just turn this around?
Yeah, sure. Watch out for the wires. How's that?
That should be good.
Okay.
Maybe I'll.
Back a little bit if you need to.
No, I'm good. Okay. A shiny red luxury SUV glides into the dog park. The two large dogs inside the car are barking and whining, racing back and forth, second-guessing which door will eventually be their way out. The driver is collecting their stylish paraphernalia, leashes, balls, launchers, and pink water bowls, each marked with a bold B or D monogram. She places everything in a large straw picnic basket, picks up two rusty chairs donated by friends of the dog park, and plunks them down next to mine, one for her and one for all her dog shit. She is signaling me with a pointing finger and mouthing that she will return in 1 minute. Her cell phone is wedged between her neck and her ear as she races back and forth to her car to collect the panting dogs. I'd noticed her in the park previously, always necking with that cell phone, or playing an energetic game of catch with her dogs, including commands meant to show off her training prowess. Paws on the ground, Babette. Dance it out, Delilah. The dogs look befuddled as they try to squirm out of her grasp. They are tangled up with leashes and assorted chair legs. Babette seems to be doing an interesting rendition of an Irish step dance. She brushes them vigorously. Balls of white fur are floating. She rewards them with special brush treats, large chunks of boiled white meat chicken. The treats catch the attention of my two scruffy mongrels, Cole and Jolie, who until this moment had no idea how the other half lived. But they immediately gave up any loyalty that they had to me to cultivate a relationship with the lady and the chicken nuggets. Remember, guys, dinner isn't 20 minutes, she implies, implying her dogs can tell time. I glance at my watch. Cole and Jolie are jumping around with no clue as to what sit or stay means. I'm experiencing a wave of guilt, reflecting on my laissez-faire approach. My kids wore unironed shirts to school, ate junk food, and devoured Chef Boyardee dinners, spaghetti dinners. I remember my own lunchbacks, cobbled together without love, creativity, or home-baked chocolate chips. Everything in it was embarrassing. Worst of all, there was nothing to trade. Did I humiliate my dogs and children with my mineral mothering? Finally, she sits down. Ready for some adult time, she asks. We introduce ourselves, and it's clear to me that I am not going to like her. I knew it the minute I saw the monograms. Dog parks are made to encourage relationships between dogs, not necessarily their owners. But there was more to it than that. She intimidated me. If she was more, then I felt less. I was always more comfortable playing with the super's daughter than the landlord's kid. I could make the best of it, but my insecurities brought out the worst in me. What breed of dog is Babette, I inquire. A Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever, she answers, each syllable rolling off her tongue like warm butterscotch syrup. Well then, I say, I certainly know who to call if I ever get a hankering for duck l'orange, giving her fair warning that I too could play the game. On the other hand, the four dogs were getting along famously. We were there for the long haul, so we tried to find some common ground. We're weekenders from Long Island, she says. Obvious. We don't get here very often. We have a very hectic life. Like we don't. We are both new to town and renovating our houses, ironically using the same contractor, Roscoe, an expert in playing the part of the yokel local, decked out with red suspenders, but loaded with savvy. This could lead to a positively revolting relationship. Who will be Roscoe's favorite? She was on it before I could strategize. Roscoe came for breakfast on Sunday. He likes them better than me. I made my mother's famous banana bread. She can bake and likes her mother. I made my mother's famous banana. Okay. We're adding a screen porch and a tin ceiling for the kitchen. They are spending more money than we are. I designed an intricate mosaic tile floor for the entry. She is more creative than I am. I just had to have the tiles Robert found when we were touring Italy, she says. They travel. My husband has a wonderful eye. He spotted the tiles just after we left the jewelry store. She admires her husband's taste, and he buys her jewelry. It was torrential. There was nothing I could do or say to stop this flow. May I add, she was attractive, slim, with long ebony hair braided and piled onto her head. Sexy tendrils cascaded down her slim neck. Her clothing bright, textured, and accessorized with colored beads. An aging hippie with a tennis bracelet. She paused to glance at her cell phone. I saw an opportunity. I made the most delicious gazpacho last night. It's a new recipe with carrots. Our dinner guests raved, I said. Pathetic. I am an idiot. Everyone has a recipe for gazpacho. You make good gazpacho? Well, you've never had mine. It's fabulous, she responded. We're going to the theater tonight with a group of people who met on a cruise last year, I mentioned. We were there last night. It was just okay, even though they gave us the best seats in the house. Who are they, I wonder? Will not give her the satisfaction of asking because she's already let me know. She is charitable. She informs me that she is a very busy woman, president of the temple, on the board of various organizations, maintaining an active Facebook page, throwing glorious dinner parties, and is taking a class in Torah study. That's interesting. What do you say? What are you studying, I ask. Humbleness, she replies. This was the moment I was waiting for. Do you know what I consider really humble, I ask? What, she asks, eagerly leaning forward. Folks who donate money to their favorite causes anonymously, I answered with a jello-y giggle. Well then, she replied with innocent eyes, I guess I don't need that Torah class after all.
So I want to take you back to the 1960s. And you probably are all... Who? Oh. I said I want to take you back to the 1960s. Specifically, you guys probably have seen Mad Men on TV. Well, I have to admit that kind of my profile. And this is how I first got involved with the ad biz. You're never going to get a job looking like that. Don't worry, Dad. I've got a brand new 3-piece suit. Who's talking suits? It's your hair, your beard, fat. You've got protest written all over you. That argument preceded every one of my job interviews until 8 months later. With my wife supporting us with a secretary's job at Champion Papers, I said to my dad, okay, you win. I'll try it your way. After all, I reasoned, advertising is all about image. So I took a trip to the barber shop and emerged beardless and with a hair as short as the day of my bar mitzvah. And God smiled upon me, and so did Phil Gatt, Phil Gatt, of J. Walter Thompson, the largest ad agency in the world. He offered me a salary of basically $100 a week. If I could make that much money a week, all my dreams would come true. My 1-bedroom apartment in Brighton Beach, Bad, was less than $90. My wife could quit her job and go to grad school. I would be the breadwinner. All those things flooded my brain, and I immediately said yes. We shook hands, and he asked if I could start Monday. I was ready to start that minute, but I purposely hesitated and said, I believe I can, as if I had another job offer to mull over. Sometime later, I learned that the budget for my job was double what he had offered me. The SOB had lowballed me. I vowed to get even somehow. I was on the Ford Dealer Association account. That meant I had to write 20 live radio scripts a day that would be read by baseball announcers during the commercial break on local games all over the nation. When I first got on the account, I had no knowledge of cars. I didn't drive. I took the subway everywhere or bus. I didn't know what 4 on the floor meant. Cars have a radiator? Like the one in my apartment? What does 350 horses mean? The agency also had the Ford corporate account and had just created the slogan, "Ford has a better idea." Their new logo for it was to substitute a light bulb for the zero in the word Ford. But no one had figured out how the new logo would work with the Ford Dealer Association. From my desk, I could see the logo tacked up on an art director's wall. It immediately came to me. See the light. Click, switch to Ford. Wow! The dealers would love that. And so would Henry Ford Jr. Well now, that deserves a raise. Phil Gatt thought so too. He was ready to double my salary and told me so. Not so fast, Phil. I feel much better being here if you tripled my salary. A smile crossed his face. Yeah, that's what I hear a friend of mine gets at Young and Rubicam, an agency down the street. You got it, he said. And that's how I made my mark my first year in advertising, and immediately started to grow my hair and beard back.
Thank you, peaceful dawn. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your giving heart. Thank you, peaceful dawn. You bring us joy. You bring us light. You bring us silver moon to light our night. You bring your heart and spirit too. It touches everything, everything you do. Oh, thank you, peaceful dawn. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your giving heart. Thank you, peaceful dawn. You are the sun, the wind and stars. You bring your magic wherever you are. Oh, you are an artist, teacher and friend. You are the gold, yes you are, at rainbow's end. For you, Deb. Thank you, peaceful dawn. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your giving heart. Thank you, peaceful dawn. My tribute to a wonderful, beautiful spirit. Feels good.
Thank you.
Feels good.
So up next is Amber Chan, and on deck is Gabrielle Senza.
Thank you, my dear. It's so wonderful to be here. So I'm just going to read a very short excerpt from, I'm working on my memoir called The Boatwoman. And this is I've just finished a chapter on my childhood, so I thought I would take you into the world of an 8-year-old. And India made its mark on me as a child. So here's the little story. I'll get my glasses on. When I was 8 years old, my mother took my little sister and I to India to visit my great-grandmother, Ganga Devi. It would be the first of many travels I would take in my life. We arrived in the town of Navashar, Punjab, in June, when the heat was unbearable and the monsoon rains had yet to begin, when pesky flies hovered around us and sweltering heat forced us to sleep on simple cots on the rooftop. Ganga Devi's home was down a narrow alleyway in the center of town. She lived alone in a compound with a tiny bedroom with 2 chairs and a bed, a small guest room with a water faucet and bucket in the corner for washing ourselves, a kitchen cubicle with a simple kerosene stove, and shelves neatly arranged with glass jars of pickles, lentils, and grains, and an Indian-style toilet up some steep stairs where we often saw large rats scurrying by. She had a cook, a tall Punjabi named Dinanath, who was devoted to her. My great-grandmother would sit all day in the courtyard reading her Bhagavad Gita or some religious book. She sipped on fresh lemon juice and weak tea with ginger. She had a sweet disposition with her toothless smile and sunken cheeks, and was fascinated by my little sister and me, dressed as we were in our frilly frocks and white gloves, like proper little girls from East Africa. The alley was a lively place. Here the snake charmer in his pink turban would arrive as throngs of children living in the neighborhood burst out of their homes and ran up to greet him. I always stood on the outskirts of the crowd, scared as I was by snakes, but would slowly inch my way in just to peer at the cobra come out of the wicker basket and dance to the snake charmer's flute. Sometimes the alley would be noisy and alive with the calls of the knife sharpeners, the chapati makers, the marigold sellers, and the almond merchants carrying bundles of almonds from Afghanistan on their back, all of them making their way to market. Beyond the iron gates at the end of the alley was the busy main street, where we would come across Pugly, the mad woman. She was completely naked, her skin the color of dark bronze, her thick curly long hair wild, her eyes emblazoned with madness. She lived on the street and would sit on a piece of sackcloth all day. Her only possession was a cow that would wander up and down the street, its tail flicking against the makeshift vendor stalls, which would inevitably fall down and collapse, spilling all the wares on the street. Pugly's cow never got scolded, because in India, cows were regarded as sacred. Once, as I walked by her, she stared at me with a fierce gaze and hissed at me. Terrified, I ran and hid behind my mother. "I told you not to look at her, didn't I?" Mother admonished me. After many weeks in the suffocating heat of the Punjab plains, we left my great-grandmother's compound and flew up to the mountainous region of Kashmir to visit Paraminder, an old college friend of my mother's. We were met at the airport by her rickshaw driver, who came to pick us up in a horse-drawn carriage, they called it Tonga, and were driven many miles to her home in a secluded valley near the city of Srinagar. Because of the chilly mountain air, the kind-hearted driver offered us warm pashmina blankets to wrap ourselves in as the carriage made its way past flowering meadows, walnut trees, and rows of apple orchards. Kashmir was a magical fairy tale. We stayed on a houseboat moored on the banks of Lake Dal with tiny curtained windows, beds made of carved wood, and thick carpets decorated with miniature birds and flowers. One of my favorite pastimes was to float down the lake with its pools of white lotuses in a small riverboat with silk awnings called shikara, and wave to the ragged children in passing boats, while the fishermen brought in their daily catch, and bearded old men in embroidered caps stared at us with great suspicion. One morning, we were awoken early and driven to a nearby mountain resort called Palgam, the Valley of the Shepherds. My mother had a surprise for us. We mounted small Tibetan ponies and were led up narrow mountain passes by our Sherpa guides. I had never been on a pony and was terrified that we would fall over the edge as we climbed higher and higher through pine forests and steep gorges. When we finally arrived at one of the glacier ridges, I was stunned to see something I had never seen in my life: snow. I hurriedly dismounted the pony, ran into the snowbanks, rubbed my face in its cool white powder, threw snowballs at my sister, and spent the rest of the afternoon in delirious joy. Later that night, before slipping into sleep, I whispered dreamily, "Snow, snow, I love snow." Thank you.
About being an artist is obviously you're pretty creative, right? Everyone here is pretty creative. We know that. Another thing is when you're also neurodivergent and you have ADHD, you might have 300 ideas in 1 minute. And so when Dan mentioned that tonight's theme was making a mark, I immediately came up with an idea. It's like, oh, I'll talk about terra temporalis and making marks with carbon on walls. And then since then, I've thought of about another dozen things to talk about tonight. So I brought up all the things, and we'll see which ones I talk about, because there won't be enough for all of them. So, whew. Do we feel better about this? This is the big achievement for tonight. Okay, so bless you. I cry in public all the time too, so just so you know, it's probably going to happen. Okay, so because of all the things, the amazing things that have been said tonight, and the fact that we are all here in Deb's space, iWow, is happening live again. Yes. This is so remarkable. So as people were speaking, more ideas were coming. So some of you are at fault for me getting like at least a dozen more ideas. And one of the things was what Andreas said actually tonight about making a mark, and Deb making her mark on our hearts and in this space and through her art and all of these pieces. Okay, so that led to me writing something spontaneously. So it has not been edited. We'll see how it goes. Think about the power of marks. The power of making your mark on my heart. The power of marks made on your hearts. The power you have on marks made by me, marks made by others, marks made by those you love, marks made by those who love you. Think about the power you have on those marks that are made. So that's part one. Okay, now, if you're willing, close your eyes. Gently allow your mind's eye to scan your body internally and also noticing externally. But instead of looking for tension and aches and pains, which we are accustomed to doing all the time, I want instead that you look for places that feel good. Notice sensations that feel good. It could be your eyelashes on your lip, on your cheek. It could be the warmth of the breath from your nose. It could be a tingling sensation. Today, my elbows were feeling awesome on the inside. I have no idea how that happened, but I was feeling lots of good energy in my elbows. So once you've located that feel-good spot somewhere in your body or outside of your body, feel it expand. Feel it grow with every breath, taking up more and more space inside your body. It might even expand beyond your skin, your body, and take up space around you. Notice the qualities of that feel-good sensation and how it can grow with every breath you take. I invite you, not this minute, but at some point, if you wish to continue this practice, I hope you will, make a list of those feel-good moments. Those, oops, wait, I jumped ahead. All right, you expanded it with every breath, right? Okay. So going back to marks, new habits. You may have heard this, I'm sure. Where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So with everything we take in, voluntarily or involuntarily, every single day, every minute of the day, a large portion of it we may think is entirely negative and horrible. However, I invite you to look for the things that don't fall under those two categories. All right, look for the feel-good moments, the feel-good image, the beautiful landscape, the warm embrace, the warm smile, the little jig, the feel-good energy in the elbows or in the knees or anywhere it is. Make a list of them in your mind's eye, in your head, on paper, however you want to do it. Spreadsheets, I love spreadsheets. You can do it in a spreadsheet. Also, step 2, talk about it. Talk about what happened. What was your highlight for today? Yesterday, I was celebrating that my technology did not die for the whole day, and I made a submission within 2 minutes before deadline at midnight. And it did not die, even driving to New Jersey and back. It was all good. That's a major win. So I invite you to watch what happens as you start noticing and listing and talking about and thinking about the things that feel good or look good or taste good, experience every day. They're going to increase, I bet you, loads of money and loads of hugs, even better. See what happens. Are we up for time? All right. No more mark making. Thank you. That's going on my list. Okay.
Is that right?
So, Richard.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. May I put this on you?
Yes, please.
Great. So,
Please make space for Richard, and Maggie, you are up next.
So thank you all. Thank you. It's so great to be a part of such a wonderful group of feeling people. Yes, I can take this off. Thanks for the reminder. And thank you, the last performer, for that wonderful positivity. Thank you so much. That sort of leads to what I'm presenting here. I'm a singer, and I came across this song a while ago, which I just fell totally in love with. It's called Where the Music Comes From. I want to be where the music comes from, where the clock stops, where it's now. I want to be with the friends around me who have found me, who show me how. I want to sing to the early morning, to the sunlight to melt the snow. And oh, I want to grow. I want to wake to the living spirit here inside me where it lies. I want to listen till I can hear it. Let it guide me and realize that I can go with the flow unending, that is bending, that is real. I know I want to feel. I want to walk in the earthly garden, far from cities, far from fear. I want to talk to the growing garden, to the devas, to the deer, and to be one with the river flowing, breezes blowing, sky above, and I want to love.
Maggie's coming up now, and Eileen, you're up next. We're in the home stretch, folks. We got about 5 more.
All right. Where does this?
Maggie Mitchell.
Thank you. Wow, wow, wow. So many mixed feelings. It's really nice to be back here and see all of your familiar faces. And then it's also strange to be back here after so much time in between. I wasn't sure how it would feel, and just so many changes these past few years. I sometimes imagine that this is what it might feel like to come out of prison after a few years, everything the same but different. And I feel as though we are all still feeling some sort of PTSD as a result of the shutdown and disconnection. I don't honestly feel comfortable talking about the lives that were lost during this time, but I will say that I feel the loss, or perhaps grieve the losses even more as a result of the disconnection that occurred simultaneously. I've lately been thinking a lot about all the people that come and go in a lifetime. Those who stick around for many years and become a big part of our lives, parents, siblings, children, spouses, dear friends, and also those who touch us in a smaller way, acquaintances, teachers, strangers. I've often spent time at spiritual retreats, and I always meet wonderful people there. We all intend to keep in touch, but then we never do. We all have very busy lives, very full, and I think perhaps we all have a limited capacity for people in our lives. And perhaps because of the pandemic, I realize there is a greater sense that our time here is limited, and so is our energy or prana or chi or ki or life force. So more and more I consider where I want to spend my energy and with whom. I tend to be a procrastinator, and I always decide the same day what I want to present or express here. I've always felt a need to corral my many scattered thoughts and form them into one specific story, something that flows and makes sense. It's always a struggle, but today I thought I might simply harness what I call my Vata energy and share with you from this place. I just got back yesterday from a trip to Southern California. We stayed in a beautiful hotel, and a room looked out over the Pacific Ocean. The wide open vista compared to what we experience here was just so nice to experience for a change. We were just a few blocks from the pier in Santa Monica. I haven't been traveling much, so it was nice to get out of my Berkshire bubble and experience a bit of the real world. And then, as always, it makes coming home all the sweeter because we do live in such a beautiful place. I went with my boyfriend, or more realistically, my man friend or current significant other. We met on Match about a year ago. He super liked me, so I responded, and we immediately connected in a very beautiful way. And so far, so good, knock on wood. The relationship is moving forward. Andy has a house in Hillsdale, and he spends weekends up here. So we see each other Friday through Monday, along with his dog, Mello. The rest of the time, he lives in Long Island City. His older son and girlfriend, the responsible ones, live with him for now. They graduated last year from college, and both have good jobs. So they're saving up to get their own place. And then his younger son, the crazy one, who I just met recently, is home from college for the summer, and then doing a semester in Edinburgh. Although Andy is a bit older than I am, he had his children later in life. Interestingly, we have both been married 3 times. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad, but it's one of the few things we have in common. His last marriage ended badly. I won't go into details, but he took some time to do some work on himself. He started meditating and really tried to figure out who he was on a deeper level and really what he wanted in life. And he decided at that point that he might be better off on his own and just keep with his close friends. But then COVID hit, and he moved up to the country house along with his kids. And initially, everyone worked from home from March through September, and then the kids went back to college. And Andy was stuck up in Hillsdale with the COVID puppy dog, and for the winter, which, you know, as you can imagine, if you're used to being in the city, being up here for a long span of winter by yourself, and he has a rather huge house out in the middle of nowhere, he decided it might be important to have a partner or mate or some sort of intimate relationship, or risk insanity or serious drug and alcohol abuse. On the other hand, staying with my Vata theme, my drug of choice is books. I'm not sure if I've ever admitted that here before, but I am a bookaholic. I get lost in books, and usually I read 1 to 2 books a week. Recently, though, I discovered audiobooks. These are available for free from the library. So I am now mainlining books. I listen to 3 or 4 books
a week in my car while driving, in the kitchen while cooking, headset on while I mow the lawn, and even when I'm working in the garden. On the trip to and from California, I had my headset on, 6 hours out, 5 hours back. It was funny putting this together earlier today. The letter R doesn't work on my laptop anymore. So it's really a challenge. And although I have an external keyboard, it's just such a pain to hook it up. So I suffer through, and then I try to go back. I've got all my little R's sort of written in here. Anyway, it's one of those things where, I'm not ready to replace my laptop yet. I'm just suffering. If you get an email from me and R's are missing.
And next is Dan Ruderman.
Hello to those of us still standing, sitting, hoping. Hi. All I could say is the arthritis. I can't get my whipped cream out of the can, and I can't get the thing on. You can't get your whipped cream out. Deb would like that. Hi, I'm Eileen, and I'm so glad to be here. Tonight, I am here to say I always want to mark my day. No matter how hard I fight the gray, my tendency is to leap head first into the fray. Not the light of day nor the din of night can disguise my fight. I do not want to live by this fright. My friend Deb would always show me the light. She urged and urged and urged me to write. With all of my might, I will try not to hold on so tight. Desperately, I just want to get this right, often leading me to something contrite. Oh, I try to make it right, and it goes wrong. I buck up with a long tale and a song. Still, it's all lasting too long. Too long is here to stay. I do not want to live by this fright, not to be afraid to go away to the promised land, close to the edge of the earth, punctuated by the sand. And truth be told, I'm really not that much of a fan of those who stay and don't leave. Don't make like the trees and shed, and it makes me want to run back to bed. Bury my head and play dead. If I am dead, am I here to stay, or did I already play my last hand? The real question is, where will I land? And am I here to stay or here to pray? When the bell tolls and my time is done, will I have stayed or will I be done? Will time define me? Will time define me? At the end of my arc, I hope and pray I have made my mark, especially upon your heart. Thank you.
On deck is Susie Koffman and Dan Ruderman. We're in the home stretch, folks. I'm just going to say it now. We've got Susie coming up next, then Ronnie, and then Joanne. And Dan.
And Dan. Hello. Oh, it's nice to be here. Yeah, it's really good to see you. This place.
He wants you in the light.
You want me in the light? What does this mean?
Towards the light.
Into the light.
Oh, you're in the light now. That's better.
How's that?
Yeah.
This place made a mark on me. This place made a lot of marks on me. And when I say this place, I mean your eyes, and your smile, and your laughter. I mean your ears, and your hearts, and the way you breathe in and out, and pay attention. And the things that you say, that you bring to this space. Each of those things has made such a mark on me. On a lighter note, I have a friend named Mark, and he told me that he went to the coffee shop one day, and it was so crowded that they wanted people's names, and they'd write them on the cup and call them out. And they said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Mark," with a C. And a little later, they heard him going, "Kark, Kark." I'm going to bless the space, if that's okay.
Yes.
And, you know, we all have ancestors, and this is a way to remember ancestors as well. So, guess what? Our Deb is an ancestor. So you're welcome to just say anything, be with it. After each direction, you can say aho, if you like. You don't have to do anything. If you want to stand up and face the directions, you can. That's north. That's south. That's east, and that's west. I won't tell you what that is or that is, but you'll find out soon. So I'll start to the east. To the east. Oh! To the east, the place where the sun rises. The color is golden and yellow. It is the place of new life, of birth, of things new. It is the clan of the eagle. It is a place of seeing over everything. It is a place to start fresh. We greet you, we thank you for this day, and we ask for your wisdom and guidance. Aho. Oh. And to the south. The great spirits of the south, the color is red in the south. It's the clan of the wolf. In the south is a time of lust, of doing, of action, of warriors in the archetypes. It's a place of long nights and warm evenings. It is a place to get things done. We greet you, O powerful South. We greet you. We thank you for this beautiful day, and we ask for your blessings for these people and for this place in this way, in this time. Aho! Aho! And to the west. The color of the west is black, and the archetype is of judgment, of discernment, of alchemy, of transforming through your wisdom. It's the clan of the bear. And we greet the West, and we thank you. We thank you, O West, for your wisdom, for your ability to guide us. And we ask for your blessings on these people in this place, in this way, in this day. Aho! Aho! And the north. The north is the place of the ancestors. It's the end of the cycle. It's cold. It's our sovereigns, our kings and our queens. It's that way to look out and take care of all our people. And we greet you, Deb. And we greet you, all of our ancestors, whether that's Dita, Tully, Rudy, all your ancestors. You can call them out and thank them and ask, oh, great ancestors, that you are with us, each person here, whether you're in this space or gone, that you will guide us and bring us wisdom. Aho. Aho. And the above place. This is the place of great creation. This is the Father that gives you everything. We greet you and we thank you for this day and ask for your continued protection and creativity. Aho. Aho. And to Mother Earth, the below place. Oh, if you can get down there, just get down there and put your hands on her. But if you can only feel through your feet, boy, can you feel through your feet. Oh, Mother Earth, the provider and giver of everything. Everything. The air, the land, the vegetables, the fruits, the winged ones, the four-legged and two-legged. We thank you, Mother Earth, the mother that never left us and never betrayed us. Aho. Aho. And then there's the middle space. This is that middle space that's inside of us. This is our heart and our lungs. We are the ones that walk amongst all six directions. We can walk, and may we walk in balance amongst those directions and always see all the directions in each of us and in all that we meet and all that we feel. Aho. Aho.
Lakota?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Lakota blessing. Thank you, Dan. Susie, do you want me to put it on you?
Yeah, that'd be super. Okay. You'll forgive me if I shake. You know, I shake. Okay? Forward.
Just say loud, yeah.
You'll forgive me if I shake. I shake when I get up here because there's so much going on, you know, and you are witnesses to that. I arrived at Doctors Hospital on East 88th Street 77 years ago today. Didn't want to make a big fuss over it, but it's the truth. Okay. Some days later, maybe 4 or 5, since in those days giving birth was a leisurely affair. But in any case, past the day the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, my mother brought me home to 83rd Street in swaddling blankets, even though it was likely blisteringly hot in the city in August. My sister was already 10, but she and my mother, Henrietta, had an adversarial relationship from the get-go, and I expect Henrietta was hoping it would go easier the second time around. I'm trying to picture her entering the lobby with me that first time, but I can't decide if she's pushing me in one of those attention-seeking carriages with the sunshade and the white wall tires, or whether she's carrying me in her arms. I can't imagine her carrying me. I don't remember being carried. It was a long way from the front door to the elevator, and the floor was marble. Any misstep, and my life would not have unfolded the way it did. Any stumble, and I might not have survived. We, all of us here, are survivors. We survived imperfect parenting and chickenpox. They hadn't come up with monkeypox yet in the 50s. We survived tuna noodle casserole and pink cotton candy. Korea, JFK, King, and Bobby Kennedy. Vietnam and 9/11. We survived McCarthy, Nixon, W, and Trump. And all the losses on top of losses. The loss of that mother 61 years after she brought me home, all of our parents, many siblings and other loved ones, beloved friends, dearest Deb. I use this word survivor advisedly, knowing that the word in English is deeply associated with people who did not walk into the lobby, but out of the camps the year I was born. I'm also thinking of those who lived through AIDS and Putin's recent atrocities in Bucha, of those who crossed the Mediterranean from North Africa in inflatable boats, and those who made it out of the Paradise Fire and the flooded lower Ninth Ward. My survival seems inconsequential by comparison. Who cares, you know? And yet, it's all I have. It's all each of us has. Our life, our time here on both sides of the much vaunted millennium. Our testimony to the personal and social history we have lived through, sometimes triumphantly and sometimes under a dark cloud. All the losses, all the losses. Every life is a statement about survival, of living to see another morning cup of dark roast, in spite of near misses on the highway,
dark, deserted streets, encounters with unsavory men who did not have my best interests at heart. I stand in amazement when I think about the risks I took voluntarily and the sheer random good fortune of not getting sucked out to sea in the undertow of the fierce and freezing Atlantic in Amagansett, while the young lifeguard turned to look over his shoulder at a girl posing on the beach, one hip leaning in his direction. I am one of the lucky ones, and I'm here to tell you about it. It helps, as the timeline of my life seems to be collapsing in on itself, and I consider making my mark, to read what Einstein, no dummy, had to say on the subject. Time, says Al, does not exist. We invented it. Time is what the clock says. The distinction between the past, the present, and the future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. In this hallucinogenic version of reality with no boundaries, no separation between periods of time or between you and me, I'm on my way to the elevator with my mother, but I've already fed the pigeons in the Piazza Navona and bathed in the perfect liquid environment inside of her. I've already eaten crab and dumpling in Tobago and summoned all my energy to squeeze through the narrow canal of her and out into the world. I've already toppled off the seesaw and given birth to my own baby. When I entertain this understanding, the idea of survival doesn't make much sense. It doesn't really hold up. I'm in motion, like all of the rest of us, and the rocks on the graves in the Jewish cemetery will not hold me down, will not hold me here. All I know is I'm here now, whatever here might be. Whatever now might be. And the lilies behind the house are shooting fiery blooms, red and yellow and orange.
Thank you, Susie. Before we have our last two performers, I'm just wondering if anybody has any other announcements this evening? Yeah, Joanne?
Can we announce things that we do online that we offer? So I offer an online class honoring ancestors, honoring the directions and our voices and the elements. So come see me. I'll give you my email address. I'd love to have you come join.
Great. Thanks, Joanne. Any other announcements? Okay. Just a reminder that when you sign up for IWOW next month and in succeeding months, that it is first come, first serve. So you want to sign up early with Denise, and the email address is? We'll send it.
Just reply.
Just reply. IWOW's IWOWartspace@gmail. Okay? Ronnie, come on up. Ronnie Cunningham. Home stretch. Can I pin you? Thank you. You did that so fast. I think you're on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm singing with B Shalom Chorale. And I was talking with cantor Emily Meckler last Wednesday about a song that I had sung to a couple at a gate where I work at Tanglewood. And she said, "What was the song?" And I had one of those moments where I had completely forgotten. So I was in the middle of a story, and the song was part of the story. I was driving home, and of course I started humming and whistling and singing, and I realized what the song was, remembered the words. And in fact, I looked it up because I only know one verse, and there are 3, and she looked it up also. My version was from Bartlett's quotations, and hers was from Wikipedia. Mine said that it was anonymous, and hers said that it was by John Ford. We all agreed that it was written in 1608. And so I'm going to give it a go. But I'm not going to sing the 2 verses that I don't remember by heart. I saw a lady passing by, excuse me. I saw a lady sweet and kind, ne'er did a face so please my mind. I did but see her passing by, and yet I'll love her till I die. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Jeannie, do we want? Yep. Do we want Joanne just to? Yeah. So just before Joanne, and Joanne will be our last person, and to sort of bring the evening to a close, I want to just acknowledge Denise, who's been holding space all these months, year plus, to allow iWow to continue happening. So she's like held the space, and now Joanne's song is gonna grace this space, and thank everyone for being here this evening. Joanne. I'll put this on. Put it on. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is such a joyful occasion, and it's so nurturing to see and hear each of us. So I want to share first a recent poem called Your Name is Singing. Your name is made of vowels that move. Your name is made of beats that groove. 1,000 suns shine in your name. What will you do to fan your flame? You are the dream of long ago that's giving birth both fast and slow. From cyclone to sigh, bonfire to flame, waterfall to droplet, all know your name. Your name has roots deep in the ground. Your name has boots that walk all around. Your name's up and down like the waves at sea. It's as wild as the wind can be, and gentle as that morning mist. It can be often said and then dismissed. Your name is but a part of you, yet wholly you, and very true. Say it loud and make a dance. Whisper it, hitch up your pants. Even if you hate your name, stick it in a picture frame. Look at it from every angle. Make the letters hang, dangle. Soon you'll see you stand aside from what is true and what is pride. What is your name? Deep inside, deep inside where your heart can't hide. Listen deep, listen long. Your name is singing your own song. Thank you. So I timed this so I wanted to share a song called Drop in the Bucket that was written for the Hoping Machine and inspired by George over at Arlo's church. We all met. Nobody was singing at all. We were just sharing our troubles on the first day after the election. And I went home so downhearted, I wrote this song called Drop in the Bucket. And I wanted to mention, before I forget, you may know August 5th is a day that Herman Melville met Hawthorne right down there at Monument Mountain. And that mark was made of friendship. I don't want us to forget what a difference a mark of friendship can make. So here's our drop in the bucket. And you can go ooh, ooh, ooh to this if you like. Builder till there is no wall. Kick the heel of a giant, the heel of a giant, the heel of a giant, till the giant falls. Put a drop in the bucket, put a drop in the bucket, a drop in the bucket till the bucket's full. A light in the window, put a light in the window, light in the window, till love will rule. Take the length of the wall and the width of the wall and the height of the wall. Make a table, take the pipe from the pipeline, pipe from the pipeline, pipe from the pipeline. Make a cradle, rock the baby, rock the baby, rock the baby till the crying's done. Rock the baby, rock the baby, rock the baby till peace is won. Lies I'm fed, I will bake a bread. I'll eat the bread of truth, the bread of truth, the bread of truth, till the lies are dead. Put a drop in the bucket, drop in the bucket till the bucket's full. Light in the window, light in the window, light in the window, till love will rule. Rock the baby, rock the baby, rock the baby till the crying's done. Rock the baby, rock the baby, rock the baby till peace is won. Yes, we are one. Here's a call and response that's a brief one for Deb. Are you ready?
Yep.
Make space.
Make space.
For all you feel.
For all you feel.
Make space.
Make space.
For all you need.